In observance of the upcoming Memorial Day weekend, I'd like to take a moment to thank all branches of our military, retired and active, as well as your families for the sacrifices you make every day to keep us safe. And I'd like to especially thank those who have paid the ultimate price to keep us safe. Thank you so much for your service. Well, looks like another week on Wall Street, and one thing remains true: nobody knows anything. And if you think everybody on TV sounds the same, they do. Looks like we have to start framing our economy in a proper light. I'd say this is called American capitalism. This is capitalism with a little bit of socialism sprinkled in. If you don't believe me, open up your wallet and look at your Social Security card. And it looks like it's time for those in Washington to take a leadership position and maybe start putting the U.S., us, first. And housing, all the data points we're getting right now are absolutely terrible. But the good news is you don't have to look at any of them because they're all coming from an extreme place, and the hard edge that we've recently had on mortgage rates is slowly but surely coming off. Welcome back to This Week in Mortgage, everybody. My name is Sam Battaglia, your mortgage broker here at Guaranteed Rate in Beverly Hills. I hope you're having a great week. Well, coming into this week, the Dow Jones was down 8 weeks in a row. That is another historical data point. We haven't seen that kind of run since 1923. But we do know, true is true, no one knows anything, and what we see on TV is already old news and has been traded. And these talking heads on TV, if they all sound the same, it's because they are. They're simply just talking their book, and they want people to buy their stocks so they can make money. And if you don't believe that, look in the corner of the TV when they're talking about a stock. They have to disclose whether they have any interest in it at all. Now, Wall Street has been dealing with some brutal selling. As we know, the averages are down, but there are some issues inside some individual stocks that are absolutely beaten to a pulp. And what this is, these companies, fundamentally, some of them are not much different than they were 5 weeks ago. But as we know, perception is reality, and this might be a time where we're going to see some hostile takeovers start happening on Wall Street because there are some very high-quality companies out there trading way below their historical PE averages and probably to some suitors look like a pretty good buy. So we could see some companies in a hostile fashion start to take over other companies. This mergers and acquisitions that will happen could help the market rally, actually, because they're going to have some proper comparables for the other companies in their sectors to work off of. So unless it's a fire sale, if there are mergers and acquisitions happening, hostile or not, that should make the market go up. And a quick little note, the most famous investor in the world, the guy who bought the carpet company in 1968, and now it's the name of his whole empire, him and his buddy, Warren Buffett, they always say that there is not one fund manager out there on Wall Street that can keep up with the S&P 500. He's been saying that, I think, since the first time I read that, which was 20 some odd years ago, and it remains true. Basically, Warren Buffett is saying the same thing that Michael Douglas said in Wall Street. These analysts, they don't know preferred stock from livestock. And again, if you don't believe me, call your money manager, ask him how much he's down, and ask him how much the S&P 500 is down. Odds are he cannot keep up with the S&P 500. All right, moving on. I mentioned this, American capitalism. American capitalism was actually born on December 23rd, 1913, as an act of Congress signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson. As a safety net, the Federal Reserve was invented to, quote unquote, enhance the stability of the American banking system. So, by definition, enhance the stability is a safety net, and that is exactly what the Federal Reserve has been for us this whole time. Now, this is my socialism part sprinkled in. True capitalism lets companies and individuals live or die by their choices in the market and those repercussions. Our capitalism, we have things like too big to fail and things like that that will not allow certain companies to die because it would be a systematic failure. So, I don't know what this is called, but it seems like socialism to me. When the government runs in to save private industry, this is capitalism with socialism sprinkled in. All of that said, the Federal Reserve, what they're basically doing is fixing a car that overheated and was in the red. So, Think of the economy as a race car that was running in the red and overheating, and then they dropped $6 trillion out of the sky in helicopter style, and that just put rocket fuel into the economy and completely overheated it. And it looks like the car is a little bit broken right now. So, easy thing to think about. The economy is a race car. The Federal Reserve are the mechanics. The mechanics have the race car in the garage right now, trying to fix it, trying to get it back on the road, and trying to get it so it doesn't run in the red right now with things like inflation. All right, moving on. Washington, D.C. I'm not a political person. I don't talk about politics. I don't really care about politics for that matter. But the backdrop and the environment that we have as an economy has to be healthy and has to have confidence, because as we can all see, confidence and sentiment, two things I talk about almost every week, are really coming to the limelight right now. So I think it's time for the U.S. Government, the Congress, Washington, President, everybody, to take care of the U.S. first. Now, the reason I say this is, I'm always talking about the Federal Reserve stepping up to help, but, that's just money, is what the Federal Reserve is. Money is a good thing, obviously, and the economy needs it. When it needs extra of it, they'll give it. But what we really need is confidence and sentiment. And I would love to see Washington, I don't care what party, doesn't matter to me. I don't have a dog in this fight. But I'd like to see Washington come together a little bit and think about the people here. And I'll tell you why. The other day I was driving down the road and I hit 2 potholes in a row and I got 2 flat tires in a row. This isn't a personal gripe, but as that was happening, I was listening to the radio, and we had just given $40 billion worth of aid to a foreign country that I've never been to, most people have never been to, and will never go to. But we're going to give them $40 billion. So here's an idea. Every time we give $1 of foreign aid, why don't we give $1 of domestic aid to build our roads back, to build our airports back, to help with our infrastructure, and to really tackle the long-term problems that we're starting to deal with right now, like inflation, supply chain, job quality, infrastructure. It's time for this domestic politics to step aside and really take care of us. So I say the next time we decide to turn the printing press on for $40 billion for somebody, let's give ourselves $40 billion and fix the roads, which will create jobs, good paying jobs, which will help fight inflation through wage inflation. And if we can start doing some infrastructure stuff with the domestic aid that I'm giving in this example here, maybe we can help the supply chain. Maybe we can get away from dirty energy. Who knows? But I say we should do this one for one. Each dollar we print to send to another country, keep that same dollar at home, put it to work, and help out the U.S., us. Moving on to housing, my favorite topic. All right. Housing. Markets are indeed working properly right now, but all the data points we're getting for housing are terrible. Here's the good news. You don't have to listen to any of this housing data, and you can literally ignore it all because it literally doesn't matter, and I'll tell you why. Every single data point right now we're getting is based on a historical number, good or bad, and this has been the case for the last few years. This bad housing data scares me not at all. This is just a normalization of slower growth, which could technically be defined as a recession, but it's just a normalization and slower growth, which is going to be absolutely sustainable and absolutely healthy. Now, markets are working properly, and what I mean by this is when the stock market sold off and has been selling off, went up a little bit today, Thursday, markets are working properly, and 3% return on your money isn't bad, because when you buy stocks recently, you lose 3% a day. So markets, flight to safety in bonds and mortgage-backed securities is working properly. And the hard edge is certainly coming off of mortgage interest rates, as we recently saw a high of 3.18 on the 10-year Treasury. Today, I think we closed at 2.75. That's down 43 basis points. That's that hard edge I'm talking about that's coming off. And more so, the best part about housing, as always, I believe values are safe for a few reasons. Demand is healthy, supply is still traditionally low, and affordability, believe it or not, is creeping back in as that hard edge comes off of the 10-year Treasury. And more so, here's an easy idea. If things do normalize, we might just get back to a place in real estate where we have both a buyer's and a seller's market. And as a mortgage broker, and to all my real estate agent friends, this is a very welcome thing. Okay, everybody, that's my show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you for watching. If you have any mortgage or real estate related questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Have a safe rest of the week, and have a great Memorial Day weekend.